Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about day to day what we did in Stirling Lines and Bradbury Lines way back after past selection and got into B Squadron. We've talked briefly on what happened. However, I'm just going to enlarge slightly because people have asked the question and I think it's a good question. Before I do that, let's have a look at my website, www.rusty-firmin.org/shop. On there, you'll be able to get my book, Go, 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 the definitive story of the Iranian Embassy siege. Also the inspiration for the film 6 Days, out on Netflix right now. That's Jamie Bell on the cover, British-born actor. He plays Rusty Firmin in the film 6 Days. Take a look at the film. It's had some great reviews. Secondly, I have this book, The Regiment, 15 Years in the SAS. That covers my life from when I was born through to 1992, when I left the SAS, 27 years in the British Army, from a 15-year-old. So take a look at that. You can see me right in the middle. Got John Mack on my shoulder, Soldier Eye on my other shoulder, surrounded by good guys. So that's the regiment, and some of the stuff I'm talking about now, some of the stuff I've talked about in the past few weeks, a lot of it's in here, but in more detail. Feel free to have a look at that. Behind me is the resolution. That print is mine. I have the original painting, and of course on there there's myself in the middle, no gloves on, surrounded by the Mink, Bob, lots of other names you'll know. There was 10 of us in that group. However, that's the only ones on there that were taken that day. So I'm very privileged. First of all, I had no gloves on. Secondly, caught on camera. Well, that's a story of my life. So either way, that's where we are with that one. You can find them, as I say, on my website. And of course, if you go there, everything is signed. It's so easy to follow the format. I sign everything before I post it, with either a dedication, just a signature, or even blank if you want. Doesn't bother me. So take a look. Both books I've talked about, Go, Go, Go and The Regiment, 15 Years in the SAS. The Go, Go, Go is out on Audible as well, if people want to listen to it. The Regiment is going onto Audible and is taking place as we speak. Yes, we've had a few weeks break, and we all know what reason is for that. However, it is happening. So if you feel you'd rather listen to it, then read it. You will have a choice. And that's what we should have in this country, a choice. Soldiers' lives matter. Anyway, let's not go down that one at the moment. I've also got a YouTube channel, Rusty Firmin SAS TV, and of course that's got nearly 12,000 subscribers. Now it is free to subscribe. I really would like to boost the numbers. If you could help by getting an individual, getting your mates, getting people you think your mates and are not your mates, that's always a good one. Get them to subscribe and keep an eye on what's going on with Rusty, and more videos to come, and there's an awful lot just gone. As I say, you don't get nearly 12,000 because people don't like it. It's staggered me. However, who dares wins, and that's what we're doing, moving forward. Obviously, we've got the Facebook page as well, which anybody can apply to be part of. it comes up, we will see who it is, and of course we will deal with it accordingly. We don't take everybody. We've got rid of an awful lot of waltz, as you can imagine, and as long as they keep coming, they'll be getting binned. Don't worry about that. However, it is a good page, and of course it's called SAS Special Air Service Military Area Collectors and Facts page. That's it, it's there. Take a look. Okay, and of course that has got on its way to 7,000 already in a very short space of time in comparison. Let's boost it, let's get it up there. Let's catch the pages that have been there for years and years and years. They are ahead of us, but we're there. So, now let's move on to what I said. What happened day to day in the camp of Stirling Lines and Bradbury Lines when it was there on the south side of Hereford? Good memories. It's now a housing estate, completely knocked down, nothing remains. It's sad. Time moves on. These are the changes that were made. Hopefully for the better, I don't know. I don't keep tabs on anything the lads are doing these days apart from what I read and one or two guys who are in the know, but I'd never discuss what's going on. Certain things I can talk about, and there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about and won't. So please bear with that. It might change in the future, I don't know. But at the moment, that's how it stands. Okay, so I went into B Squadron. I got the troop I wanted, 8 troop. Within a squadron, all 4 of the Sabre squadrons, they have a mobility troop, a mountain troop, a boat troop, and a freefall troop. I wanted mobility. I got it. Better than that, my mate Dave was already in it, and better than that again, John Mack, when he came back 6 months later, he came to the same troop as well. How good is that? A typical troop would have, not all, in all cases, there was never enough Ruperts to go around. Some would say, thank F for that. We had a great one when I got there. Alistair, captain, ex-New Zealand Army, served in Vietnam. Just what the doctor ordered. Great sense of humour. With Alistair, we have a troop staff sergeant. Staff sergeants run the troop. Officers don't. They are there to learn from the likes of us. And learn they do. Because when they go away, they can come back as different ranks, obviously, and may not be back in touch with the troop again ever. Normally, they do 1 tour as a troop officer, 2 years. Troop staff sergeant, they can come and go, but make no mistake, they're the ones who run the troop day to day. The officer can sign away claims and stuff. How much do I get from my motor mileage? But we've had some really good ones, and you get once you speak to the lads, it's pretty common, the ones that maybe aren't thought of as much as the other ones. But my introduction to Alistair, that put me on the right track and never looked back. I'm still in touch with him today, albeit he's back in New Zealand. A great character, great sense of humour. So, there we have it. Troop officer, troop staff sergeant. Then all the other ranks below, sergeants, corporals, lance corporals, troopers, including myself. They're all in there somewhere. So, and it's different. it's different, because you have to trust those guys with your life. And we did. So let's move forward slightly then. I'll give you a breakdown roughly of what's going on. Normally, you have your troop skill. Mobility troop was mine. Mobility troop was John's. Mobility troop was Playboy's. They and a number of others. But then you'd have individual skills on top of that, like of a linguist and demolitions, communications, medic. That would be in your 4-man patrol. You would hope to have one of each of them. Sometimes as you got on, it would overlap. Somebody would have 2 skills. For example, I did 2 language courses, I did demolitions, and I did the paramedics course. I skipped the communications because I'm half fucking deaf. And always have been. So, for the Morse code side of it in my day, diddy-da-dit-da-da-da. Foxtrot Oscar, I can remember quite well. Diddy-da-dit-da-da-da. Anyway, let's not get down those lines. So something like that would give you the balance. So when you left to hostile areas throughout the world, jungle, desert, Falklands, wherever, you can look after yourselves, because you don't have an MI room next door. The very best you can do is look after each other and get them medivac, casivac'd away if something happens, where they can be looked after properly. So I'll talk about the medical course, which was the first one I did. I did it in Leeds. Yes, my partner in crime was John Mack. 2 of us went to Leeds when the ambulance strike was on. The idea was to meet up with the head doctors. They knew who we were, what we were doing, and that would be the case further down the line. Before we ever did that, we have to go through the theoretical and practical side, classroom work, if you like, and scenarios. However, we had Paul and Paddy, 2 great medics, Royal Army Medical Corps. Their job was to teach the numbnuts, me. I think there's about 14 or 16 on the course, I can't quite remember. What they would have to do is teach us how to become qualified. So, 8, 12 weeks in a classroom, can't remember that either exactly. But that's where you start the learning of everything we had to do. So, there we were. Learning everything, how to suture, to strap broken legs, everything you can imagine. Intravenous drips, solutions, what they were, what you could use, gunshot wounds, what you'd expect to use on gunshot wounds. The list was endless, but it was so enjoyable to be able to walk away from that and say I passed. Today's qualification is and was, in my day, equivalent to a paramedic. That just shows you the in-depth. So respect everything else to the paramedics. I know what you went through, guys. So we passed that, and then Leeds it is for me and John. Some of the other guys went up to Scotland, some went down to Southampton, and so on, and Oxford, and you name it. There was a couple of guys going to each one. Linking with the doctors. Leeds is a rough place, was a rough place, but we enjoyed it. So the idea was for the next month, screw the nut on the drinking, obviously, get stuck into the work. And the work was A&E with the doctors. They come in, we'd be dressed exactly the same as the doctors, white coat, stethoscope, parting down the hair, looking the part. However, we had some fun, the drunken louts, and then the good news is the white screens that go around, perfect cover. The drunken louts became a little bit more, let's say, respect towards the doctors. So we stood there, and John, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? Love and hate. This is on Dr. John's, above his knuckles. Dr. John, love and hate. How many doctors do you see with that on? And I would say probably not a lot. But what a guy. And I trust him with my life, obviously. So it's, you know, the learning that we did was forced learning, but it's enjoyable. You know that you might need to use this somewhere down the line in unhospitable places throughout the world, which the SAS were renowned for serving in. You know, you don't have anybody else. And let me just give you 3 examples. If I'd never done that course, what might have happened? Dave, great guy, B Squadron, 8 Troop. When we went to Brunei, the jungles of Brunei, in comparison, quite a nice clean jungle when you look at Belize. However, when we went there, we were running down the riverbeds with the instructors, advanced to contact drills, training on these occasions. And of course, you kneel down to give covering fire. Yeah, the officer had the grenade. Yeah. So we give him covering fire, puts the grenade back to throw it, smacks my mate, smack in the middle of the head. The grenade falls on the floor into the water. We all dive into cover, shout grenade, and it goes off. However, unbeknown, when we got up, yeah, Dave, streaming blood, worse in water conditions, fine, but it's dripping off you. Looks like he looked a wreck, but he'd just been smacked on the head with a grenade. And of course, it's all in my book. When that happened, he got up. I was the doctor, the medic. Dave happened to be best man at my wedding. I was best man at his, my first wedding. Took him back to camp as quickly as we could, got him down, realised that it wasn't shrapnel, it's where he was smacked with the grenade. So, Dr. Rusty, big bald spot, shaved it, lignocaine, suture, head bandage like John Cleese, you know, the one that they don't like, the one they've just banned. Yeah, it looked a bit like that because Dave was a bit of a vain lad, good looking guy, a bit like myself. And of course, it was just so funny, not for him, but it was for the lads who couldn't stop taking the piss for the rest of the trip in the jungle. That's B Squadron. Malaya was the next one. John Mack. In the same patrol, John gets amoebic dysentery. For those who don't know, it stinks. I knew what it was straight away. Something he ate, something he drank, who knows, who cares? You've got to fix it. We couldn't get a chopper in for a couple of days to Kazivak. We got one eventually, but my job as a patrol medic, remember John was a medic, but he was useless to himself, wasn't he? He was on a hammock, stretched out. I had to keep him hydrated for a couple of days, 36 hours, something like that. I can't quite remember exactly, while we waited for a helicopter to come. Eventually, it did. If he wasn't hydrated, he could have lost his life. Actually, Dave could have lost his life. But we were there to help and help save life, which is always a great feeling, saving a life. So we've got John stretched out, Kazivac, keep him hydrated. And for those who ask me the question, I can confirm that he has an eyeball tattooed on each of his backside cheeks. Trust me on that. Not a pretty sight. No. But a smelly sight. But my mate, and yet again, kept him hydrated until he got Kazivac. Then, of course, there was Nepal. In the book, Johnny Two Combs. Vain? Yeah. Good looking lad? Not bad. Yeah, we were training their special forces. We got to the top of the hill, halfway up, cut long story short, struggling. John wouldn't struggle. So we have a doctor with us, and we have Rusty. And without wanting to start a fight with the doctor, who's Nepalese, Rusty took a pace backwards. But I had a senior, one of our guys with us, along with the Nepalese. All they wanted to do was get to the top as quickly as possible, understood. But there's something wrong with one of our guys. The doctor thought it was probably to do with the altitude we were at. Maybe altitude sickness, something. I disagreed, to the point where I grabbed the senior and said, look, there's something wrong. It is not altitude. I can just tell you that. I know the guy. He's green, he's grey. There's something wrong with him. The doctor backed off. He got a helicopter in. I got in the helicopter. We flew straight into a snowstorm towards the hospital. I told him to turn around and get to any hospital he could, which he did. The pilot got there. He was on the radio. And when we got there was this old rickety thing on the ground waiting, but it had a red cross on it. Put John into that, got to the hospital. First thing we saw on the way into the hospital was a jawbone outside the door on the windowsill. If we'd have stayed on the hill like the doctor wanted, he would no longer be with us. He had appendicitis. However, he's in a hospital. I've cleared the ward. I've told him he's an army officer. He was a lance corporal or a corporal, one or the other. They disinfected it, everything. I stayed with him for a couple of days until we Kazivac'd and we got ourselves out of there. He was an ill person. However, he's still alive to this day, and he still owes me a beer. So there's another story, and it's in the book. It's Johnny Two Combs. So with that, I've got other stories which I'll go on to. You're asking about day-to-day stuff. That's what it is. If it wasn't that, it was generally a day on the piss somewhere around Hereford. Hereford Market Day was Wednesday. Remember when they used to open certain hours? There was Ledbury. There was a number of places around Hereford which had a market day each day of the week. Abergavenny, 20 miles up the road. We used to go there because the pubs were open in the afternoon. And we used to have a beer with the lads, take them back home, the ones who were married, see them getting slapped around their head by the wives when they bring in bunches of flowers. Didn't work. But we were tight. Camaraderie, top. And that's part of what we used to do. I'm going to do some more. And I thought this one was fitting because it fits in right after 1979 into 79 before the embassy. So with that for tonight, I'll give it a rest there. But who dares wins? Think about it.